Hey everybody, welcome back to The Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for your support. Today I'm going to be talking about a tape-to-disc comparison I did for two records that I've covered on the channel prior. I did shootouts for both of these records. One is Simon and Garfunkel's Bookends. So I compared my first original demo pressing to the mobile fidelity. And the second one is the Bruno Walter Beethoven Symphony No. 6. In that case, I compared my original to the Analog Productions 33. So I had this idea on the back burner for a little while. A viewer reached out to me after those two videos. His name is Michael, and he was very kind to send me two tapes. So I have the tapes for both of these, the commercial 7.5 IPS reel-to-reels for the Beethoven and for Bookends. I've had them for a while, and I want to apologize to him for taking so long for this. But the reason it did take so long is I knew some changes were coming in the system, and I wanted to wait until those were settled. Up to now, I had been borrowing my friend's Revox A77. My friend Oswaldo Martinez of Let There Be Sound had lent me this Revox for several months now. And the day that he brought that, he said to me, because he was in my vault, and he saw the RT-707 from Pioneer sitting in the corner. He said, "Why isn't that in your system?" I said, "I don't know. I don't even remember if it's working right." When I moved to this house, I decided I didn't have enough room for it, and the system was getting too complex, and I said, I just put it out there, and I left it there. That tech I got years ago for $189, and it was working fine. I never had it looked at, though, or serviced. And so he took it off to a friend of his, who I've met before. His name is Jeffrey. And Jeffrey likes to tinker with tape decks. And he went through it. I saw the pictures as they took it apart. It was really dirty. It needed a lot of work. It needed alignment. It needed calibrating. It needed cleaning. It needed a couple of new parts here and there. So I said, do what you want to it. I'm in no rush. When it gets back, it gets back. Well, it came back recently. And with it came a tape. And I want to explain this tape to you. Oswaldo made this tape on my machine with his equipment. And he said, "Scott, I want you to play this, and I want a blow-by-blow commentary because I think you're going to be blown away." So I started listening to it. Let's see what's on here. I'm going to tell you some of the tracks. 3 O'Clock Blues, Eric Clapton and B.B. King. Fever, Peggy Lee. Lost and Lookin', Sam Cooke. What a Wonderful World by Friend and Fellow. I Love You More Than You'll Ever Know, Vanessa Fernandez. The Sound of Silence by Jeff Castellucci. What Have You Done by Wynton Marsalis, and more. The second side is just as good. Strong stuff. Albert King, Doug McLeod, Chris Stapleton. I was like, okay, so I played it. And from the first track, but especially Peggy Lee, Fever, the Sam Cooke track, the Vanessa Fernandez, and The Sound of Silence by Jeff Castellucci. Wow. I was like, I can't believe this was made on my deck. It was like the best source that I'd ever heard. Of course, certain vinyl pressings, if everything is aligned, will sound as good. And I was like, what the hell? What is the source for these? I figured it had gone through his amazing VPI Avenger turntable with some super cartridge. I think my Sonic Lab is on that right now. And Phase-Mation phono stage. He said, I'm not going to tell you till tomorrow. I was like, So what's up with this tape? The next day he told me. He said, those are all from digital to tape. I was like, what? These are from a Qobuz or streaming service, direct to tape. And he said to me, and it sounded like the best analog you could ever hear. He said to me, it's just an experiment to show you something that I've noticed, which is even with a digital source, there's some kind of something that happens when you put it to tape that elevates it even further. I was like, okay. I haven't really explored too much streaming, but I was like, oh, that's very interesting. Okay. So it's not an all analog tape at all. And that was really cool. It got to show me the capabilities of what is possible with my deck. I was getting super low end, huge dynamics and big soundstage effects with this tape. And super clean, super clear. It was great. So, that's a state-of-the-art kind of tape. How would these 1960s high-speed duplication commercial grade tapes fare on this? Well, I've done a couple of videos with tape to disc comparisons, and with the Revox, I found that the tapes were big, expansive, huge images, and overall more natural sound. Sometimes the tape hiss was a little higher, but I didn't mind it. I thought that, in comparison, I'm thinking back to the one I did. I think it was with a Command record, the Command Persuasive Percussion tape. The record sounded good, but it was definitely more concise and compact, where the tape was more expansive. And I thought, well, maybe that's just the Revox. Well, no, it's not just the Revox, because I played that tape again, and I played these two tapes, and this is what I found. So, Bookends, a great sounding record. I have a great sounding original. This is stamped demonstration, not for sale. So it is a first pressing on the 2i label. And this tape had the same characteristics as that Command tape. The first thing you notice when you A-B back and forth, which I was able to do, which is really cool, level matched and everything, and A-Bing back and forth, it was instantly recognizable which was which. Some might have a preference for one or the other. The first thing you notice, though, is the tape is big. It's big, it's expansive, the sound spreads beyond the speakers and even seems like it's coming around you, especially in that second track on this, Save the Life of My Child. In that track, there's a few sound effects. There's a lot of space in certain sections. There's acoustic guitars, very clear. And the vocals are a little bit treated to some spatial effects. But one thing that's in this track that's very telling is the gospel voices. And I mentioned that when I did the first review. The gospel voices on the record are contained within the between the speakers. They move up behind the sound stage. You can kind of hear them individually, and it's a great effect. But on the tape, they're like spread out like this all around, and it's an amazing effect that the record just doesn't capture. And I listened to this on two $7,000 front ends. One is my reference, the VPI Scout, with the Phase-Mation PP500 cartridge on it. Sounds great, but it couldn't quite manage what this tape was doing as far as spatial characteristics. The same with the Perpetuum Ebner PE6060 with the Ortophon Quintet. A concise, beautiful sound, but not expansive like the tape. In its place, though, the record has a more incisive quality, where sometimes the images and sounds on the tape are a little more diffuse. I feel it sounds a little more natural sometimes, but the record does have like clearer strumming on the guitar. The voices are more focused, so forth. So there is a trade-off. It's interesting to hear the differences, but I really did enjoy the spatial characteristics on this tape. It was quite impressive. The Bruno Walter record. Now, I have an original, and I have the Analog Productions 33, and I also have one that my friend Jack sent me that is an earlier blue label pressing. I have the red label, 6i. I listened to all three. I still feel like the Analog Productions is probably the better of the three. In comparison to the tape, now this was a little different. The first thing you notice about this tape is a very high level of hiss. It's so high that it's a bit distracting. I don't mind hiss when listening to tape or even a record. I don't mind it if it's not excessive, because it tells me, especially with a record, that things haven't been toyed with too much or manipulated. The highs are there. Yeah, you do hear a little hiss, but that's okay. But this got a little bit out of control, I thought. It was just too hissy. But beyond that, what I was looking for is, in the original review, I said that the orchestral climaxes on the records were somewhat congested and didn't have separation and beauty like the rest of the record did. Well, I listened to this on tape, and it didn't have that big expansive sound like Bookends did. It was still pretty compact, so it didn't have that. But it did have more separation in those busier parts and an overall flow that was really good. I still preferred the records, though, in this case. This is okay. You know, I think when you're buying these early consumer grade tapes, you have to remember they aren't done one-to-one in real time. They're done on high-speed duplicators, and you're adding another layer of tape. So if you are not a fan of tape hiss, you probably want to avoid reel-to-reel tapes from that time period. But I got to say, like on the demo tape, of course, there was no tape hiss, really nothing. Just a little bit that gave it that analog-like feel. So, you know, it's interesting. I am really thrilled to have the RT-707 back in service. And I have a lot of tapes in the vault that I'll be taking a look at and playing them and comparing them to records where I have the equivalent record. But I wanted to kind of give you an update on that and a little bit of information on these two tapes. Again, thank you to Michael for sending these to me. They'll be going back to you this week. And until next time, I'm Scott for the Pressing Matters. Have a great day.